Hey, welcome back to Cool Quotes. With the recent passing of Tony Dow, rest in peace, Leave It to Beaver has been popping up in my feed, so I went ahead and looked up some freaky facts, and here are a few that stood out. The pilot episode of the series was originally titled Wally and the Beaver, but the producers after a few weeks thought this might remind people too much of a nature program, so they went ahead and changed it to It's a Small World. Now that one I don't really think was a good choice, but finally they came up with Leave It to Beaver, and I think we can all agree that was the best one. Now the pilot episode was aired in April of 1957, and after it was broadcast, it was misplaced and never seen again for 30 years. They thought it was completely lost until they found it in a film vault in Illinois in 1987. So after the pilot episode aired and it was deemed a success, CBS went ahead and launched the Leave It to Beaver show on October 4th, 1957, which is also the same day that the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1. Now let's take a look at the main characters on the show and see what we can find out. We'll start with Ward Cleaver, the father, and work our way down the family tree. Surprisingly, Hugh Beaumont wasn't the first choice to play the iconic father figure. The original pilot episode was filmed with actor Max Showalter playing in the role.
Where have you been?
At dancing school, Daddy.
I know that.
Where's your new necktie?
Sonny must have kicked it off me.
Now, son, nobody steals a necktie off your neck.
Now that was a freaky fact that I didn't know until I started making this video. So after the pilot episode aired, they went ahead and recast the Ward Cleaver character, and they found a Methodist minister named Hugh Beaumont, who I think fit the part really well. He really was a nice guy.
Well, Wally, are we flying tonight?
No, Dad, we're cutting our meat.
Despite him always being professional and very friendly on the set, they say that Hugh was suffering from depression. This all started as season 1 filming began to drag on. You see, Hugh left his family back in Minnesota so that he could join the cast of the show. Not knowing if the show was going to last very long, he decided not to move the family yet. And while he was gone, he had to let his son Hunter take over some of the responsibilities that he used to have. And one of them was driving his mother-in-law back and forth to church. Sadly, one Sunday afternoon while leaving church, Hunter lost control of the wheel and struck a tree, and in the accident, Hugh's mother-in-law passed away. Now, Hugh couldn't get over this. He blamed himself for not being there, and so that was the leading cause of him having depression. Next, we have June Cleaver, played by Barbara Billingsley. The kind and caring mother of the show was always known for wearing her pearl necklace. But there's a reason for this necklace. It was placed there to hide an indent in her neck that she was very self-conscious about. And as the series continued, it just became part of her character, the pearl necklace. Another little freaky fact, Barbara always wore flat shoes while filming the first few seasons. But as the children grew taller, she started to wear high heels to keep the exaggeration and separation in height to make them look like they were still small children. But as the seasons continued and they got even taller, they had to start cutting out scenes where she would hug them because they were now head level with her bosom, and they didn't want that in the show. Now, Barbara was playing the mother of a nuclear family, a husband, wife, and 2 children, white picket fence, the whole 9 yards. But in real life, just before filming had begun, she lost her husband, making her a single mother of 2. So while she's filming and playing one thing for the TV audience, she's living a whole nother life. She said it was really hard. Wally Cleaver, the brother of the Beaver. We think of him as Tony Dow, that's for sure. But did you know Paul Sullivan was originally cast to play Wally?
Hey, don't go putting your junk in my drawer. When I got out my sweat socks this morning, they were full of raisins.
3, 4.
What are you gonna do with those, stupid?
Get 1,000, the milk company gives you a bicycle. Free.
They were happy with Paul's acting in the pilot and everything was a go. But then he had a huge growth spurt, making him too tall for the character. So they had to find someone new. And that's when Tony Dow comes in.
Daddy, hi, Lumpy.
Hey, Wally, tell your kid brother to stop calling me Lumpy.
Hey, Beaver, stop calling Lumpy Lumpy.
Now, Tony didn't grow up having dreams of becoming an actor. Instead, he was focused on sports. In one sport, swimming, he was excelling at. He became an Olympic hopeful at age 9 when he broke a national record. He was actually training at the Hollywood Athletic Center when a fellow swim team member asked him if he wanted to join him and go down and audition for this TV show. Well, Tony went along, and Tony got the part. So as the show continued on for years, he had less and less time to train for these swim meets, and eventually he did not make the Olympic team. But when he was in high school, he did letter in every sport that was there. Now, later on during interviews, Tony went on to say that the character of Wally Cleaver left such a lasting cultural impression on America that the audience and the directors in Hollywood couldn't see him in any other role other than wholesome or naive, which left him with limited options and ending his career early. And that brings us to Jerry Mathers as the Beaver. Now, when Jerry was 2 years old, his parents were shopping in a mall with him. And in there was a department store that was taking pictures for a new catalog they were going to put out. And if you stood in line with your child and your child tried on an outfit, took some pictures, they got to keep the outfit. So they stand in line, Jerry tries on a Christmas sweater and slacks, the picture gets taken, he gets to keep the outfit, they go on their way. Now, the director of this catalog also later on was a director for a TV commercial, and he thought, that kid would be perfect, so he contacted the family. And next thing you know, Jerry's in a television commercial. From there, his family starts to take him on more commercial auditions. He lands a few more spots, and then they start to go to television shows. And that's when they go in for Leave It to Beaver. Not knowing how long this audition would take because there would be other kids there too, his mother went ahead and put his Cub Scouts uniform on him ahead of time. Now, as they're standing around waiting their turn, they're looking at the clock and thinking, we might have to leave without even auditioning. But then they call him back there. And when he walks in the room, they ask him why he's wearing that uniform. And he says, because I have a meeting at 5 o'clock and I sure hope this doesn't take till 4:30. And they all laugh and think it's adorable. They have him read a few lines and they're like, you're perfect, you're hired. Now, after the show ended, Jerry did go on to just live a normal life. But while he was in high school, he did create a band called Beaver and the Trappers.
Well, come on, baby. Spread a little happiness my way. Happiness is, oh, baby, happiness is. Well, you guessed it.
After high school, he enrolled at the University of California, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in philosophy. Jerry also enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, but after going through basic training, they did not accept him. So instead, he joined the U.S. Air Force, eventually achieving rank of sergeant. Now, in 1969, a rumor started spreading around the country that he had been killed in the Vietnam War. The military denied this, but the rumor kept getting bigger and bigger. Eventually, he had to make a public statement himself and let everybody know that he was okay. After his time in the service was over, he ended up taking a job in a bank as a commercial loan officer. And while there, he learned a lot about finance and the real estate business, so he took the money out of his savings that he accumulated as a child being paid $500 a week on the TV show, and he became a real estate developer. In 1998, after being diagnosed with diabetes, Jerry signed up for Jenny Craig and started to lose weight, eventually becoming their first ever male spokesperson, and he lost over 40 pounds. Now, back to the TV show for another freaky fact. In the episode Captain Jack, the boys have a baby alligator and they don't know where to keep it at night, so they go ahead and place it in the tank on the back of the toilet. Seems harmless enough, But no, up until that moment, a toilet had never been shown on American television. And that's because it wasn't allowed. It fell under the indecency rule. So they went ahead and aired the episode, but they got a fine and they threatened to not allow them to show it again in reruns. But luckily, they didn't show the bowl, just the back of the toilet. So after some back and forth, they were allowed to rerun the episode. And since then, toilets have been shown on television a lot. Thank you, Leave It to Beaver. So as the first season came to an end in 1958, CBS decided to cancel the show. They were spending too much money per episode to make one. It was costing $35,000 at the time, which was an astronomical amount. That would be over $300,000 in today's money. Plus, the second episode is when they got their fine. So they went ahead and bailed out. But luckily, ABC came in and picked it up for 5 seasons. Something else that stood out to me was that the show never made it into the top 10 in ratings for any of its seasons. And considering how iconic it was, it just didn't make sense. But I double checked, and it's true. Okay, one more freaky fun fact before I head on out. In the 1970s, shock rocker Alice Cooper had busted onto the scene in a very big way. Now, he didn't give very many interviews, and people wanted to know, who is he? Where did he come from? So one time when a reporter said, "Can you tell us at least what were you like as a child?" he said very cryptically, "Well, I was a real Eddie Haskell type." Now, people took that as code for he was really Eddie Haskell when he was younger. So that was the urban legend, and it grew and grew for a couple of years until the real Eddie Haskell and Alice Cooper put a stop to it. Just goes to show you, people believed all kinds of wild things before the internet. No, wait a second. People still believe wild things even with the internet. Well, that's how it goes. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a comment down below. Let me know your freaky fact or favorite scene from Leave It to Beaver. This video was inspired by the passing of Tony Dow. Rest in peace, we will miss you. And Jerry Mathers, you're still going strong. Hang in there, brother. We love you. Today is August 4th, 2022, and this is Cool Quotes signing off.
Okay, Beaver, now you put me up in there.